Hello, everyone. My name is Mike, and I'm here to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals 2020 NFL Draft. To start things off, I'd like to talk about, one, my Andy Reid edition shirt. You know, if you don't know what I'm talking about, look up any clip of Andy Reid in the NFL Draft, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. With that being said, I want to talk about the Bengals. I think they did a great job in free agency and in the draft, and I just enjoy talking about it, so I'm going to continue to do so. And what better way during these quarantine days than to do a YouTube video? Okay, so getting started. In free agency, the Bengals tended to do some great things. They ended up picking up a bunch of defensive players. They didn't hold back. I think it was like $130 million spent in free agency. It's almost scary numbers. So with that being said, I thought we were going to focus totally on offense in the draft. Turns out they kind of went both ways. I mean, I really believe that they went with best player available, and I think that's the way you have to draft. I think it's Bruce Arians is quoted saying, if you draft for need, that's how you get fired. You got to draft the best player available. So then at the top of the draft, Joe Burrow, of course. Everybody knows who he is at this point. Everybody in the sports world, that is. Joe Burrow is the best college prospect, in my opinion, since Andrew Luck. You hope you get a guy like Andrew Luck. You also get kind of scared that you end up with, like a Tim Tebow or something like that, most decorated quarterback in college history at his time. But Joe Burrow blew every number and stat out of the water. My favorite stat about him, his ability to complete passes under pressure. He's in the 80 percentile. 80%. Under pressure. I mean, that's incredible. People don't have that when they're, in the pocket on average, and so at an 80 percentile completing passes under pressure, we're going to need that with the Bengals offensive line, not getting much improvement during the draft. Hopefully that steps up. Joe Burrow, in my opinion, was an A+++ prospect or pick for the Bengals. If anybody disagrees with that, then you're wrong. Everybody wanted the Bengals to take them. Everybody thought the Bengals should take them, and they did. Apparently, it is on record now that the Dolphins did try to trade up or did call. According to the Bengals, other teams even tried to call into the Bengals, and they just said, we're not open for business. I think if you trade away that option, then you're hoping Joe Burrow does bad. And I don't want Joe Burrow to go and be a bad quarterback. I think he's a great guy. He seems like a nice Ohio kid. Shout out Athens. He did great things already, just winning the Heisman, giving that speech, raised money for his town. I mean, what's not to love about the guy? I hope that he ends up doing what everybody knows that he can do. And he has already said, I look forward to being Mike Brown's quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years. I mean, that's a guy that I want on my team. So, with that being said, moving on to the second round, T. Higgins from Clemson. This kind of surprised me. I thought we were going to go directly towards the offensive line. You'll notice a trend. This is kind of where it starts, where you guess that the Bengals have just started taking nothing but the best player available to fit their needs, or at least best player on their board available. T. Higgins is a guy that has been compared to A.J. Green. And in my book, that is fantastic. One thing I love about the guy the most is that right after he was picked by the Bengals, he was on live TV with the commissioner, Roger Goodell, and he said that he loved the Bengals and that it was his favorite team for the last handful of years. It seems kind of like he really just had a favorite player in A.J. Green with the Bengals. Either way, I love it. I mean, I've always said I'd rather have a good player that wants to be here than a terrific player that acts like an asshole and doesn't want to be here. And I think in T. Higgins, we're going to get an incredible player that wants to be here, which is amazing. And on top of that, John Ross and A.J. Green just haven't stayed healthy. You pray that they can. John Ross, he's an enigma. You don't know what he is. I mean, he's kind of one of those guys that he'll make that explosive play, but then drop the ball the next one. You hope that T. Higgins can shore up those wide receivers. Auden Tate, let's not forget about him. He's fantastic too. I think he's up and coming. I think he's going to be the next Brandon Marshall without the attitude. T. Higgins, A+, absolutely. I think it's a great pick. Moving on, to the third round, Logan Wilson, linebacker from Wyoming. I like the pick. At first, I was kind of thinking, I don't know who this guy is. But after I did a little research, I realized I fell in love. Apparently in high school, he was a cornerback, so he's great at covering. He beefed up for college and became a linebacker. And I mean, what's more to say? He's a good cover linebacker. The Bengals haven't had a good cover linebacker in years, if ever, in my lifetime. So I'm really excited about that. And, we got a guy that can now cover those tight ends coming out of the AFC North. So then, I would give Logan Wilson, I would give that a B+, because I think there were some guys there, but I like what they did. I mean, apparently he was a captain, and I think the Bengals just had high regard for him. Moving on to the fourth round, the start of day 3. Akeem Davis Gaither. Don't really know. We'll find out, I guess. They actually say day 3 is the highest percentage of players that actually end up playing in the NFL that are currently active. I thought it was a little weird we went back to the linebacker position, but it ended up looking pretty solid. I mean, another good cover linebacker, a quick guy, maybe not as big as I would like, but, we're shoring up that linebacker spot, and we couldn't do that in free agency. We got one veteran linebacker from the Ravens, and I didn't think that was enough, so I was hoping we'd get some linebackers. I didn't expect 3, and you'll hear the third towards the end. So then, moving on, defensive end, Khalid Kareem, Notre Dame. Anytime a guy gets taken out of Notre Dame, Cincinnati's happy. I don't know if it's because Cincinnati is close to Notre Dame, or maybe it's because of the movie Rudy. Who knows? So anyways, I think he's a solid pick. Our defensive ends are a little slim right now. Sam Hubbard could be a star. Carlos Dunlap, on the other hand, he's getting older, so you got to have something prepared for that. It wasn't that long ago, 5-6 years ago, that we had one of the best defensive lines in the league. And in recent years, aside from Dunlap and Geno Atkins, we've looked pretty thin at those positions. So pretty happy with that one. I give that a B+. Moving on to the 6th round, offensive tackle. We finally addressed something on the line. Hakeem Adeniji, is that how you pronounce it? From Kansas. Sounds like a solid guy. Don't know much about him. I think at this point we were just trying to address the line at least once in the draft because they knew they had to. I think they ended up just taking the best lineman available at that point in time. So cool. I'm happy with it. I think it was a need, but I also think just based on the tape that I did watch, I would say overall I would give that a B. Okay, so moving on to the 7th round, the last round of the draft. Marcus Bailey from Purdue, another linebacker. Go figure, there's that third one. I like it. I thought he was bigger. Turns out he's only 6 foot. But he's like 230, 240 pounds, and that's why he looks so tough. Big bowling ball, old school looking linebacker, which is a nice change up from the quick guys we took in rounds 3 and 4. So overall, I mean, I'm not going to give an average grade. You guys can do that math. Feel free. Who am I to really grade? And you never know. I think it was Mike Zimmer that ended up saying, you do all this work, you put in all this time, and you finish the draft, and you still don't know what you got. So kind of look forward to seeing these guys all play. I really believe that the majority of them could start game 1. And there you have it. The Bengals 2020 NFL Draft.